So my current project, Red Dirt Dreaming, is a new history of mining in Australia. So essentially it takes the methodology of the Eureka project, which looked at one mining community over 1 year that turned out to be incredibly historically important. I mean, really important also to remember that those people who were at Eureka at the time, those miners in Ballarat, didn't know they were making history. We write their story in retrospect. So they were living their lives. But it turned out to be a watershed moment. So that idea of writing a group that has previously been silenced or marginalised from an important national story, I'm taking that and applying it to mining history much more widely. So I'm looking at mining as an activity that has been important, indeed seminal to Australia, from not only colonial times, from not only the point of European invasion/settlement, but pre-European times as well. So Europeans were not our first miners. Indigenous people were mining their own lands also. They were digging the earth for the precious resources that lay beneath the surface. And they were doing so with economic purposes, they were doing so for social, cultural and religious purposes. But there's a story to be told there. And while it has been told in local form, increasingly, it hasn't been joined to a national narrative of the relevance of mining to Australian culture and history and economy and political economy. But I'm also looking at other groups that previously have been left out of these national narratives. So women, yes, but also migrant groups, also environmentalists, also unions. And because the way that the mining story has come down is through the incredibly important, groundbreaking work of Geoffrey Blainey with his 1963 book, The Rush That Never Ended. And Blainey was right. The rush didn't end. Resource extraction in Australia has gone in boom and bust cycles, and we continue to see that. And we continue to see the relevance of those cycles in Australian national life. But Blainey was a man of his times. How can we expect him to be anything but? And the questions that he asked of the archive in the 1960s are different than the ones that an historian might ask now. We can look at mining through a conflict model because so many events have happened at sites of mining that have been turbulent, explosive. The Eureka Stockade is only one of them. There are the Kalgoorlie riots in Western Australia. There is the Beaconsfield mine disaster in Tasmania and a slew of other ones where we find that there is some kind of moment of conflict that can also tell a story about our nation and the way our nation works. And this isn't some kind of black armband history that just wants to say everything that we did in the past is bad, but it is a way of saying that all societies work on conflict. There are power relations inherent within them. We know that about our society now. We just have to open the newspaper or open up our Twitter feed, and we know that conflict exists on a daily basis. Why should it be any different in the past? So it's about returning to those moments in that fine-grained detail of understanding what was going on at that point of conflict in that particular region over that particular mineral that really excites me about this project and opens up so many questions for understanding who the actors were in the drama, but also what their motivations were, what came out of it for them, and what does it say about us in a larger sense.